Okay, folks. Look, I came back as quick as I could. People are going to be accusing me. You didn't take a shower. Yeah, I did. Just rinsed off the important parts. No, we take a proper shower. Soiled and despoiled at work. Gotta get all that stuff off of you. This is a super windy day today. It was very dusty. Dustish. And no, there's no whiskey in this. If you don't know what I'm talking about, well, I just got done with a live session like 15, 20 minutes ago. I want to say it's a short one, but it was almost an hour long. That's what happens when you start running at the mouth. All right. Onward and upward. So where we left off is we were painting this lad here, whatever his name is. But let's finish up Sloan. We've got a couple levels of things to do on Sloan before he's ready to go. Put this stuff out of the way. It's supposed to be cool outside, but honestly, it's pretty warm in here. That was quicker than I thought. Well, I know where all the dirty parts are. I just washed them. Hey, if you got to run till like 8, I'm fine crashing early too. I'm going to be up early, but the best thing I can do is to do this while people are watching so that there's some interaction. So, I watched another part of Tick's Operation Crusader, and there's a lot of scenario options there. A lot of this is like new to me. It's like I said, I'm paying attention to where all the little markings in the vehicles and stuff because I'm looking to do it. Looking to do some of it, anyways. Looking to do some of it. My favorite part is when the Africa Corps ends up capturing the HQ. Maybe not necessarily the Africa Corps, but the Germans captures the HQ of the 4th Armored Brigade. I believe it's the 4th Armored Brigade. And then like the next day, the Africa Corps headquarters gets captured. It's like bam, bam, back to back. Freaking wild. But I don't necessarily like that battle because of how zany it is. Although it is nice that one guy's got the upper hand, then the other side has the upper hand. And both of them have equipment that's equivalent to each other, for the most part. And, yeah, I'm really enjoying that. So based on what I was talking about, the Portland stone versus light stone. Portland stone, base color. Portland stone, base color. Versus light stone, base color. I probably should have painted this one in Portland stone. But we're going to leave it as probably black line it and just see how that looks. But Again, this is not the A13 I want. I want this A13. Everything's good on here except we want a Beza machine gun instead of a Vickers. But this is twice as much as one of Chad's 3D prints and half as good. This thing's a lot crisper than this one. This isn't bad. And this is also very delicate. It's more brittle. You should watch Zhao again, okay? Always good for inspiration. I think I mentioned it, but he's recently done some barbed wire for North Africa. Look good. All right, I'm going to write it down. He's a big reason I got back into this. Not to do it his way, but the idea of being able to do, all that stuff. I don't want to play rapid fire, but Zhao's barbed wire. At least, yeah, I think I know what I want to do, but it's always good to see other things. I don't think I'm going to do the spools. I'm going to do alternating posts and then go in between them. Almost like a mattress, a really spiky mattress. I wouldn't do it this way, but I really like his perseverance in decals. We don't need no stinking decals. He paints everything on himself. And the good thing about that is you don't have to spend, weeks searching for it. And I'm willing to hand paint stuff like these, like the numbers. But I don't want to hand paint a Jerboa. I want it to look better than what I can do. So. Because not only do I have to paint one on every vehicle, I got to paint two on every vehicle. Nah. João Peixoto. That's how I would think that his name is pronounced. I'm not sure that's how you say his last name. But he did a deep dive on Burakim, French Gazala. Did he? I don't think I've seen that one. I liked the Mortant one. I love that one. I learned so many things about that I didn't know. Like that the 116th Panzer Division had spare road wheels on the side of their Panthers. I love shit like that. And I like the 1-to-5 scale game. I mean, as an alternative method. I don't, I prefer 1-to-1, but you get to have a little bit of, it's good to have those kind of proportions. Like I was thinking today at lunchtime, I'm like, all right, well, the next time I make an order with Chad, what's it going to be? And I'm not really in a hurry to do it because, I don't expect him to fall off the earth and not be available anymore. But the next order, I got to get my Matilda situation resolved. So if I get some German tanks, what I would probably do is 2 Fs, 2 Gs, 2 Hs, and 2 Panzer IV Es. Because I got Ds, 2 Es, which you can't find a model kit of an E anywhere. And 4 Panzer IIs, 2 of the C version and 2 of the F version. But shit, that's gonna run $100 plus shipping. Maybe that'll be my birthday present to myself. Because a lot of these actions are just tanks on tanks. Oh, not a video just on the website? Okay, I've seen it. The one where he made that freaking that weird ass vehicle with the long 50. I don't even know what the hell it is. Like a weird half track or something like that has a Pack 38 in it. Yeah, I saw it. Inspired by other people. Yep. I like that. And I'm not afraid to say that. There's some people that are afraid to give other people credit. Like I get it. Maybe if I was like a communist or something like that, or like a really bad individual, like you wouldn't want to give me credit. But I had one guy at the last model meeting. He's like, I brought a bunch of figures in. I brought some of my medievals, and this guy was so surprised. I'd known this guy a long time. I mean, I lost touch with him, but I knew him from the early '90s, and he ended up bringing like a bunch of P51s and did like a whole talk on the P51s, and he said, "Yep, you inspired me to bring some of my stuff in." Well, there you go. That's what we're here for, to inspire each other. But that guy's an expert on everything World War II in the air. He's like an aircraft expert. And that's my weakest spot. That's my weakest point for sure. And believe it or not, one of my strongest parts is World War II ships. I don't play World War II ships now, but that's what I started with. That's my first love. Yeah, I came across some people that were asking some reviews of Tick stuff, and how they didn't like his material because they assumed his politics were a certain way, so they couldn't trust his material. I don't know. I think the guy's pretty balanced. Seems like he seems to want to question everything, which is the right attitude to have. Okay, that is the green ochre. And now we're going to do the sand. You're weak on naval and air. My recent study of the Pacific has sparked my interest in both. Well, I like reading about stuff that I'm not super familiar with. As long as you have the basic understanding, it's just a matter of just filling in blocks. Like I'm reading this book right now I don't even know what the hell it's called, but it was recommended to me and it's really good. And it's all about the Americans. It's a 3-part book. And it's called, the first book's called An Army at Dawn. And it's basically like Torch. And I was captivated by the foreword. I know that sounds weird, but the way the foreword is written, I've never read something written that way. And I mean that in a good way. Like, it was really impressive. So, once they hit the beaches, we're getting really close, then we should be rolling, but might be some good Tunisia stuff in there. An area that I'm really weak on. Very weak on Tunisia. So, I'm strong on anything that I've war gamed. It just makes sense. Like, okay, I gotta figure out what about the scenario. So you read more about. Oh, really? That happened? They had those things, and okay. But it's funny because I love the Mediterranean. I love the Mediterranean convoys and stuff like that to do like naval actions, and it kind of really puts everything into perspective because that Mediterranean War started in June of 1940, right? Well, the Italians don't even begin to get their ass kicked until December of 1940. So that's like 4 months. That's like 6 months where convoy actions are happening, and the Italians haven't even been pushed back. So when you're talking about like Rommel arrives, like early 41, half of it seems like half of the Mediterranean convoys are over with, and Rommel just got there. So it kind of puts it into perspective. You know, um, Yeah, because late the same time period of Crusader, that's like a really late convoy action. I mean, yeah, they ran into 1942, but that's just that's the really really late ones. But there's stuff that that's really interesting, like the Italian battleships with their 15-inch guns are great, but their muzzle velocity was so high, and they would burn through their liners. You can only fire like I think like 80 shots or something like that at every one of them, and after that, their accuracy started dropping off. Well, they didn't just sit in port; they went out lots of times. You know, they may not have gotten into any actual face-to-face confrontations because when there's carriers and land-based aircraft, one side is going to want to press the issue, and the other side isn't going to. And if the guy that's at a disadvantage doesn't want to push the issue, and they're the ones that spot the other guys, they can just say, let's just avoid combat. And the other guys can be the bigger badasses you want, but they're not going to show themselves, you know. Or if, they break the ultra communications, or, they find out what Super Command, what is this? Was it Super Commando? Anyways, the Italian high command, if the Italian fleet was coming out, and the British didn't have anything there, so they didn't want to get their get their ass kicked. They just avoided that, and then maybe sent some other assets to go fight that. So you can't. I don't. I don't buy the whole. The Italians were a bunch of pussyfoots that didn't want to come out and fight. Well, sometimes your opponent avoids combat altogether. But all the times that those Littorios, the Vittorio Veneto class, fired, they didn't. I don't think they landed a single 15-inch hit on another ship. So that's pretty telling. Because I believe, if I remember correctly, those are the longest firing gun in World War II on a naval ship. Is the Littorios. Littorios are number one, then the Yamato, and then Scharnhorst and Gneisenau with the 11-inch guns. And they're like really close to each other. Like, they can shoot past the horizon. But, the weather conditions have to be like, perfect. In reality, it's the actual longest shot was, I believe, done by a hit from Warspite against one of the Italian remodeled battleships. Either Giulio Cesare or Ciao Giulio, one of those two class ships, at one of the first engagements they got involved in 1940, and they got a 15-inch shell hit that far. That's like the record. It's like 29,000 something yards. It's like just shy of 30,000 yards, I believe. But, when you're doing naval engagements, you got all these practical things, and you're a kid, you always start at maximum range, right? So the ships that have a really long range advantage, they can use it every time. But in reality, it's kind of like, if you're going to play Eastern Front, and you got something that's got like a barn door, they're going to be able to shell things, several miles away, before the fact that they're not maneuverable, or their turret doesn't turn fast, or anything like that, ends up becoming a factor. But if you're in a situation, if you got a weapon system that's really powerful and long range, and you get put in a situation where your visibility is crap, either because of dust, going around a corner you didn't see that they were there, or night, or anything like that, like on my battlefield that's 200 meters across, you got a different set of circumstances. You got vehicles that can now damage each other because the range is so damn close. So, it kind of throws up another wrinkle that you wouldn't see in a theoretical analysis of performance of a certain weapon system that has a ridiculous range. Your grandfather served on the Eberl destroyer and told me about action in the Mediterranean. Eberl. Why does that sound like that's a Gleaves Livermore class? I'm going to look that up. USS Eberl. Look. Gleaves class destroyer. I don't make this shit up. Told you I was a rivet counter. Yeah, they didn't show up until the Med until they didn't show up they didn't start coming into the Med probably until Torch. You think the destroyer participated as an escort for some shore bombardments? He was in awe of the scale of a French battleship and mentioned the nervousness of a Stuka attack. Yeah. Yeah, Eberl. I don't make this shit up. I drink and I know things. Oh man, Gleaves Livermore. Yeah, that's a fair number of those were in the Atlantic. A fair number of those were in the Atlantic. Like that movie that Tom Hanks did about it. He's a convoy escort. He's in a Fletcher class destroyer. Fletcher class destroyers weren't in the Atlantic. There might have been some that were in the Atlantic for a very small period of time, but they weren't used for convoy escort. That's a fast destroyer. I mean, a Fletcher's a 38-knot fleet destroyer with a ridiculous range. You wouldn't waste that on escorting a convoy. It's putzing around at 12 knots, you know? Boy, I keep obsessing with doing that one. No, it's this one I need to get out. All right, we've had just about enough of you. All right, now we're going to paint the edge in black, and then we can do the tufts. I used all of my luck. I would have won a lottery ticket, but instead I used it on knowing what's a Gleaves Livermore class ship. sure we don't have any paint on us. Uh-huh. Let's see what I did there. That was your uncle, you said? Man, I don't have any uncles or aunts. Both of my parents were single children, and my stepmother is also a single child. I'm always fascinated by so many people that tell me, like, man, how do you have time to do this? I said, well, it's simple. I don't watch television. You know, how much time do people watch television? And I think people watch television a lot less now than they used to. Now we just surf on our phones. But I'm just saying, you know, I mean, how much television do people watch? You know, and if you're just doing nothing other than watching a TV, that's kind of a waste of time. Step-grandfather. Okay. Although all my great-uncles fought in the war, all European theater, one was killed in the Battle of Overloon. I didn't meet any grandfathers either. Yeah, believe it or not, I've heard about that museum. That museum might actually be the one I was talking about a little while ago, where they have a T-34-85 outside. Like, what the hell is a T-34-85 doing in Holland? But there's a T-34-85, I think, and that's one you can, like, crawl on. Like, I'd love to crawl on a tank. I don't need to be inside, but just, you know, you know what I mean? Just, like, lay hands on it. Take my contacts out and look at the fit and finish of all the pieces, you know? Nerdy tank shit. So the theme next model month is Kit Bash. Kit Bash is when you take two models and you build one out of it. Well, considering I only have two models left, the Martyr and an Elephant, both of them from Eschi. I'm not going to put them together into something. And I thought, you know, I don't really want to build Elephant. But I'm like, you know what? I could turn that into a recovery vehicle. They made 3 of them. An Elephant recovery vehicle. So I looked at some pictures, but that's not really that's a conversion more than anything else. Let me get that kit out and see what that looks like, because I wasn't able to look at the kit at the same time. I was looking at the pictures, because that'd be kind of cool. Pretty sure I got this from... Actually, I don't know where I got it from. I probably got it from Noble Knight. I have a die-cast Ferdinand for Kursk, and I feel bad painting it. It doesn't look as good as I used to think it looked better than anything I painted. That's not the case anymore. I paint better than that now, but yeah, what's the top of this engine deck look like? Oh, this is a sorry tank commander figure. Let me show you a picture of this tank recovery vehicle. I believe it's called a Berge Panther 6. They only made 3 of them. Berge Panzer, sorry. Berge Panzer VI. Here's a side view of it. I'm going to cover over the crooked spider that's on there. Oh, except I'm pressing something. Well, let's see if I can get it off the screen. But there's pictures of the... Here's another picture of it. They only converted 1 of these. That's what the original Tiger was going to go, but they didn't go with Porsche's design. It's actually, I think the Elephant's a good-looking vehicle. I mean, look at it. It looks attractive. I mean, it's got more armor than God. There's only one thing that's got more front armor than it, and that's the Jagdtiger. It's the second most armored thing in the Second World War. Berge Panther recovery vehicle. Berge Panzer 6 recovery vehicle. Given the time limitation, there was nothing available suited for this task. In June 1943, Nibelungenwerk was instructed to convert 3 VK 5301 Porsches into recovery vehicles. Here we go. This is the top view of it. So, the question is the engine deck the same? Looks like it. And in the back of it, there is the rear of the casement. The Germans salvaged a few turret hatches from Panzer III's and reused them for the Berge Panzer 6. Look, that's like right off of the side turret hatches of a Panzer III. That's kind of cool. Does the Eschimata have Zimmerit? Nope. Nope. So I basically have to add Zimmerit or make this another Ferdinand, or make it an Elephant and hope nobody notices. Except I already know. Does this thing have an interior? It kind of does. Anyways, it's a thought. It's a thought. See, the superstructure goes up to this spot here. At what point does it split? It's like at the same spot. It's like just a shorter superstructure. It's a thought. It's got a little turret up here with a ball mount machine gun. If I got some extra spare parts from like a Panzer III, that'd be perfect. Like an early Panzer III. It's a thought. I mean, I don't need another. I don't need another. You know, if I was going to build one, I'd want one in Italy, and it's got to have Zimmer in. Anyhow, wonder you can use the casement and gun as a bunker. Nah. Although I tell you what, if I ever get that Plastic Soldier Company Valentine set, I'm gonna make three of the early ones as dug in, because you get everything except the bottom hole. Like, okay, so Sloan is done except for the tufts. Bring out the tufts. Dong. Get some of this Australian dry grass. Get one of these. We're going to do 2 tufts on that one. One of those and one of these. Use a bigger one. Okay, and there's kind of a boo-boo here in the front. So we'll try putting this up here in the boo-boo. Might as well use it to cover up mistakes. Well, they're not mistakes. The problem is it shrinks in certain places. It's actually too big for here. So what if I put this one? This one. Hello. Great googly. And then we'll put this big bastard up here. All right, now we got Sloan done. Sloan, genders, and Munt, or those Australian guys that you sent me. And then the Airfix guys are Harrison, Dorsey, and Brooke. These figures look fabulous. I just hope they're durable. I'm going to be real gentle with them. The fact that they don't weigh a lot helps, I think. It's dinner prep time. Uh-oh. Catch you early? Yeah, I'm going to try to. I'm going to try to be on here. Okay, folks, so the rest of you guys have 10 minutes to prove that you can interact with me. No pressure, or I'll just cut off the feed, you know. I need some motivation to stay awake. That's all. I've been up since 4 o'clock, so no harm, no foul. If you don't want to be chatty. Okay, his skin is done. We're getting ready to do his helmet, and for that we're going to use darks. No, we were going to do the. We're going to use the brown violet and then fade it into the dark sand. All of these guys have a minimum of equipment. They've got, like, the suspenders, the belts, a canteen, and sometimes a bayonet. And that's pretty much it. You're on your own after that. This will be number 7. Okay. Now, one thing I definitely need to do is I need to do the goop around this Brent gunner. So when we go and paint them, we don't have to paint and then try to get the goop underneath there and end up going over my paint. So we'll get some of this dark sand here. This paint's still a little on the wet side. Sand, there you go. I hate sand. I'm gonna cry about it like Anakin Skywalker. Is that a reference in there? I don't remember that reference in there. The prequels sucked, and then they made the sequels, and they're like, man, the prequels are great. I'm sure there's somebody out there that like Jar Jar Binks, but I've never heard somebody own up to it. Actually, you know what was more annoying than Jar Jar Binks? Annie. A little fucking 10-year-old kid that knows it all. Like, I don't want to listen to that. You're 4 foot tall with a 6 foot mouth. Shut up, Little Annie. You like the prequels? Well, prequels, except the clones one. That was the first one, right? Yeah. I didn't like the third one because of all of the freaking jumping over the lava pit. It was a bit over the top. Phantom Menace was the first one that was with little Annie, pod racing, and fucking Jar Jar. Isn't Jar Jar in another one of them? I think he's in the second one too. Yeah, there was just a lot of silly stuff. The clone troopers were dumb. All those little robots. Not the clones, but whatever those little machines. And then, just you got that one guy's like every time he says something, he starts off. He's kind of shaking himself. Hey, Tony, tell me about airbrushing. About the airbrushing thing. It's just. Attack of the Clones was the second one and tried to be a love story. It was just blah until the fighting started. I think that, here's the thing. I think it's the wooden script writing. I don't know that. I've never seen Christensen in anything else. I don't really dislike him. And, well, Portman's really nice to look at. Anyhow, but she's a good actress. So I just think that it's just the woodenness of it all was just really awkward. And I like Samuel L. Jackson, but he doesn't need to be a Jedi. You know? You're going to make a dirty joke, but you won't. Okay. Yeah, Samuel L. Jackson is a Jedi, man. Get that Sith, motherfucker, People my age have a fond memory of Star Wars, and it might be because you saw it as a kid, so you've got these fond memories of the tie-in. But, if you would have watched as an adult, would it be worth a damn? And I don't think that it would be, you know? Now, I've said before, I'm not a science fiction fan. But Star Wars is kind of different, because there's all kinds of levels. Now, I'll be honest with you, I don't like the Force shit. I don't like the religious zealot stuff. I don't get excited about that crap, But I don't know. He was good in Pulp Fiction. Oh, I like Samuel L. Jackson. He just not good for a Jedi fit, And then I was watching all those. I was watching all those movies with my daughter because she was new to it. And the first sequel, I don't think would have been that bad if it wasn't a rehash of A New Hope. If it had been a different story, I think it would have been pretty decent. Because the casting on it was pretty decent. I mean, I think Ridley was a good cast. Boyega was a good cast. It's just like, why are you guys going to try the freaking the whole moon thing again for the third freaking time? Except this one's got freaking pine trees growing on it. I'm like, that's just lazy. That's just lazy writing. But I think that one could have been okay. So, I don't think Daisy was the problem. I think it was just the laziness of it. But I wonder if I would have seen, Star Wars for the first time as an adult, if I'd even care about it. And I'm not so sure I would. The same way that a lot of people are Star Trek fans. I'm sorry. Star Trek, if you ask me, It's stupid. I don't care for Star Trek. You know. Now, if it was, I've played one video game I've mentioned before that was awesome, and it was a Star Trek game. It was called like Empires at War or something or another, and it was like I think it was real time, and you had your ships and you can control where your shields were and your weapon systems. So you're playing like a naval game in space, and I really liked that. That spoke to me. But I want to see the combat stuff, not like, oh, we're gonna bring this the most advanced ship, and then we're gonna go and explore with it. That's like, okay, we got HMS Hood here. What are you gonna do? Well, we're gonna go visit the fringes of civilization, and it just it just doesn't speak to me. And some people probably really like Star Trek because they either watched it with their parents or they grew up watching it as a kid. I didn't, so. A lot of people dislike the new Star Wars. Yep. I would say people that were close to my age, we all dislike it. It's just a missed opportunity. I went back from dropping the girlfriend off at work. She was a wife the other day. Hey, whatever system works for you. Hey, maybe you have one of each. Oh, wait. Thursdays. It's the girlfriend on Thursdays. I stopped at the store to get a Milo's tea, and there was this guy wearing an old school Star Wars shirt and talked briefly. Script is terrible. Too much politics and characters are largely forgettable. Yeah. So, the first movie that rubbed me the wrong way was, let me think of what it's called. I can't remember what it's called. And I'll tell you why it rubbed me the wrong way. But I gotta find out what it's called. Star Wars movies. Rogue One. I saw Rogue One on a movie theater, and it really annoyed me. Now, I like the fact that it had the ending, the last 5 minutes of Rogue One was awesome. Okay? That tie-in was incredible. But up to that point, I didn't care about any of the characters. It was like let's make everybody feel good casting. It was just, I get that you need to have other ethnicities. Notice I didn't say races. Other ethnicities represented. I get it. But there shouldn't be one of these and one of these. Like, we need one green person, one red person, one yellow person, one black person, one blue person, one. It's like, okay, how about like 3 blue people? Or like 4 brown people, but the percentage is like exactly the same. So that team was like, okay, you had the girl, you had the Hispanic guy, you had one black guy, you had a Chinese guy, it was like too forced. It was like, I saw right through that. It was like they didn't fool me. And all I had to do is put like 3 black guys in it, and then I wouldn't have seen it, right? But it was obvious. Like, okay, let's make sure everybody's happy. I could see right through it. So that really bugged me, and I just don't like Mads Mikkelsen at all in any role. He's just gross. He's just creepy. But other than that, and when I saw it, I think I've seen it the second time. I don't know, maybe I didn't. But the end of the tie-in was incredible. And I like the fact that they all died because I didn't care about any of them. And I started watching Andor, and my daughter and I couldn't get into it. We only watched like 2 episodes. I'm not really a big fan of that actor, anyways. He's a bit mumbly. I sat through him in Narcos Mexico, and he was like my least favorite character. And well, I shouldn't say least. I'm my least character I was interested in their storyline. So, yeah. So, Andor is meh. Yeah, we saw the Mandalorians, and it's just something to do. But I'm not. I'm like a huge fan. It's still better. It's still better than the Marvel shit show. Of course, I come from a background of never being into comics at all. Okay, so I don't understand comics, but to me, comic movies is you got one weirdo mutant or whatever, and you got everybody else is normal, and then the enemy is also one weirdo or a mutant or whatever. Not like, okay, we've got these 1,400 different mutants fighting these other one. It just gets too like, crazy. Lots of people like Andor. I just couldn't get into it. But I've gotten to the point where I don't remember what I've seen and what I haven't seen. I think I saw the one that was the Kenobi one. I think we saw the Kenobi one, but we didn't watch the one on Anakin's Padawan. What's her name? We didn't see that, and I don't know why. I think my daughter went to college because I think she does actually a really good job as that character. Um, what's the yeah I don't think about Star Wars all the time. Marvel movies were forgettable. I did like the original Iron Man and the first Avenger movies, but the rest were just blah. Didn't care for that much. Yeah, it's just too many people on screen. You know, I don't like movies that have a villain that's just misunderstood. There needs to be people that are like fucking evil, and you have to stop them. Your Hitlers, your Stalins, people like that. Not like, well, I lost my family in this war, so I'm getting vengeance. Like, okay, but what else have you done? Oh, nothing. I just want vengeance. Like, that's okay. Get the hell out of here. Get out of here. A stepmother is not an evil character. You know, um, there's just too many. There's too much of that shit. Yeah, I never had a single comic book ever. But that's always my big gripe. It's like that guy's not bad enough. And then what's worse than that is like, something happens where somebody gets killed off and then they do something different where they change the time. I can deal with time travel. I got a friend of mine, Scott. He always hated the time travel thing in movies. He thought it was like a cheap cop out. I don't mind the time travel when you're talking about something like Back to the Future or the butterfly effect, because you always wonder like what would have happened if I would have done something different at a certain point in your life, right? So you get to explore that type of thing in a time travel movie, right? And I don't mind that, but I don't like the multiple universe thing. That is just like I don't do those kind of drugs where that makes sense to me. There's only one universe as far as I'm concerned, and keep it with one. I'm good with one universe, you know. But multiverse stuff is that is just a shit show, and basically it dilutes everything because the value of like, oh, this guy got killed off. Oh well, maybe not. It'll come back, and maybe that person doesn't die at all. But I'm not really into science fiction. I've never really played any science fiction games very much. Probably the science. Would you consider zombies science fiction? I wouldn't. I think zombies are zombies. I played a few zombie games. Um, but my favorite science fiction game, I would have to say, that I've played is probably Borderlands, and Borderlands is freaking hilarious. Um, oh, time to get another Coke. I knew I was going to do a few lines of Coke today. Yeah, I was a late bloomer to Borderlands. I didn't start playing that until, well, obviously one and two were already out. I think the pre-sequel was already out as well. But I really like that game, even though the storyline's it's a little shaky at times. But that game has a lot of things going for it that I like. It's a treasure hunt game. You know, it's fun to play until you until it becomes really difficult to find something better, and then you're like, now let me play a different character, go on to something else. You only played the first Borderlands. It's funny because the order I played them in was 2, pre-sequel, 3, the first one. It doesn't really matter what order you play them in. I don't like boss fights. And the boss fight at the end of the first Borderlands was just annoying as shit. The problem with Borderlands is this. And the thing about Borderlands that makes it really good, in my opinion, is because it draws from a lot from Diablo. The weapons coding, the way that the color coding on them is kind of the same way Diablo handles things about rare weapons and stuff like that. It has a lot of, and like this is really familiar, and I think the designers or the writers are really influenced by that a lot. So there's some tie-in with that. I'm a big Diablo fan. I'm a big treasure hunt fan. You go on and, let's try something. I'm not into boss fights, though. And boss fights in, say, Diablo were a lot easier than boss fights in Borderlands, because, I'm not interested in, like, going somewhere and finding what the best build. I'm like, let's just kind of wing it, And then if you come across some kind of stumbling block where you can't get past something, then yeah, maybe you need to improve certain things to it. But, I want to play in my own way. But the problem that Borderlands has, unlike Diablo, at least for me, is that when I play Diablo and I beat the game, actually Diablo is one of the only games that I have beaten until the last two, because the way they do the level difficulty, you can't. It's impossible to play at the hardest difficulty level. But I have beaten it and then started over at the next difficult one and then beaten it and started, I mean, it was a challenge, but, I've beaten those games all the way through. It's not like, okay, this is too difficult and you walk away from it. That's one of the few games that I've done that, including the spin-off that was called Titan Quest. I did that with Titan Quest as well. But Diablo is a game that I have beaten it multiple times at different difficulty levels, and I've turned around and played a different character. So I have characters that I prefer, but I've played them all. I'm not one of those people like, I'm going to play the monk and I'm not playing anybody else. Like, you're missing out on half the freaking game. Now, Borderlands, I have not played all the way through with different characters. I look at them, which character do I want to put up with for, the one time I'm going to play it all the way through, and that's who I play. Because it would just take so much longer, and when you're playing a game like Diablo, and you have a character that you have to play a certain way, because you're a certain, or it benefits you to play it a certain way because of a certain character, you get equipment, it's dynamic, so you get to kind of dress out your character in a different look. Whereas as a first-person shooter, you might have like big hair or something like that, but you don't see it in your character because you're just looking down the gun sight the whole time. As video games goes, I like RTS more than anything, but I do some shooters and action RPGs I do like. I don't like RTS, but it's because it's like work. It's like work. Okay, you guys go and do this, and then you come back. What the fuck have you done? You know, it's like it's too much damage control. Cyberpunk 2077 is a clusterfuck, and my rig struggles to run it. What else? State of Decay, huge State of Decay fan. God, I love that game. That's a great freaking game. And very few people know about it. The only person I've ever encountered, virtual or otherwise, that I've known that has played State of Decay. I mean, obviously, you go somewhere and you can talk about people that play State of Decay, but somebody I found along the way is Ben. Ben plays State of Decay. You didn't think the tabletop was well either? Yeah. And there's some things that just don't appeal to everybody. Like I don't. I tend to not like Bethesda games. I tend to not like them. Um, Fallout. I know there's a million different versions of Fallout. I'm talking about the one that I'm talking about the one that I'm playing. Well, I played one Fallout version. I didn't like it. It seemed like the same sprite was over again. It was like the same things where just the look of it just didn't grab me, you know. But like D&D had a lot of shitty experiences with that one. Well, I'm not opposed to playing something like D&D, but I want to play with miniatures on a table that has, you know, either real terrain on it or dry erase at least. And I want it to be like a skirmish combat system. I don't care about, you know, LARPing. I don't care about checking for traps and all that nonsense stuff, you know. The only Fallout game I liked was New Vegas, and it was the only Fallout game Bethesda didn't make, ironically. Yeah, Bethesda did all those, like, Elder Scrolls things. I didn't like the look of it. It's kind of hard to kind of put your description on it, but it's like I was talking the other day about it might have been last night, about sitcoms. That I tend to not like CBS sitcoms. There's just something about the look of this of the studio that just rubs me the wrong way. Like it looks kind of weird, you know. And Bethesda's the same way, you know. It just doesn't. Their menus are clunky, or you know, you take like a Blizzard. Blizzard's menus are like, I like that. That's like the standard, you know. Like I'm used to how that is, you know. Skyrim can be improved with mods. Yeah, I've never played Skyrim. I played one of the Elder Scrolls and I absolutely hated it. I went to a town that every room looked the same. There was the same graphics over again, and you talk to these people. And I don't mind interacting with the NPCs, but I don't want that to be the main thing. I'm a combat person. I want to be, you know, I can talk to anybody any day, you know? You don't get to like bash somebody's fucking skull in real life. So that's what I want to do, you know, in a game, you know. So a lot of them happen to be soft porn modifications, however. There was a game that came out a while ago, and I don't remember what it's called. We're going to call it Dungeon Siege, even though I don't think it was called Dungeon Siege. And what it did was, and this was really innovative, at least for me at the time, you built a character. You want to be male or female? Bam. You know, you get to pick one or the other. And I play both. I usually realize, okay, can I make the female attractive? No. Okay, I'll play the dude. Or like I gotta, I gotta play isometrically, looking at the backside of this character. Okay, I'll play the female character. I play both. But so you start this character, and that's what you get. That's what you start off with. You're like a farmer or something like that, right? You're either a female farmer or a male farmer. Bam. And then there's some loose storyline, and you go down this path, and you've got like a bow and like a sword, right? And as you use the weapon, you become better at it, and maybe like a spell. So if you want to be a magic user, you better start doing some fucking magic to get better at it. So you get to customize, you get to learn how the character becomes the class that it is as you do it. And there may be a lot of other games that do that, but I thought it was really innovative. Play the female character, look at the booty, Yeah. Uh, Assassin's Creed, that Greek girl was hot. She could kick my ass though. What was her name? Cassandra? Yeah, she was pretty hot. I'm not gonna lie, guilty as charged. Doesn't have to be soft porn, but I mean, if I'm gonna play a girl, she's gonna be hot. Um, don't mind some dialogue if it's handled like Baldur's Gate, Arcanum, or Disco Elysium. For a more recent example, Assassin's Creed. The Greek one was great. I mean, yeah, it's dorky, but it's like I like a game where it's like, here's your storyline you need to follow. So you're walking around like, oh, I wonder what's in that fucking house. So go check it out. And it may kill you, but at least you're able to go up there, you know? I like that stuff. I like that. That's why I ended up playing I can't remember what it's called because I haven't played it in 25 years. 25 years? 20 years. The Blizzard one. World of Warcraft. Because it allowed you to do stuff like that. You know? And you could cooperate with people if you wanted to, but it wasn't a game where you have to cooperate. You know? I mean, it does if you want to get certain things, but my wife couldn't stand it when I played that game. I need help with the baby. Hold on, I'm waiting on a boat. You know? Yeah, you need to have a game that's pausable. That's just a little too, you know. There's got to be some pausability in the game. Hold on one second. Let me go to. I'll be right back. World of Warcraft was fun back in the day. Got burnt out on it. Yeah. Whereas League of Legends almost gave me a heart attack because it was rage inducing. After smashing my third keyboard, I called it quits, couldn't do it anymore. League of Legends can go suck it. And you know why? Because I was playing, this one guy that I knew turned me on to it. And I played it and it was like, okay, so this is like Warcraft 3. Because that's kind of what it looks like. Right? And You know, I didn't have a very reliable internet at one point, and I got disconnected. And then when I tried to reconnect it, I got shunned for, you know, quitting the game, and I had some kind of penalty. And I'm like, you know what? That was the last time I played it. You can go fuck yourself. Like, I ain't playing this game. And League of Legends is just like really repetitive, almost like Team Fortress. You know, everybody's got this role, and you gotta like, it's just not. It's not for me. I don't like. I don't like things that are super grindy. But it's a popular game. We got to pay to play it, right, or something like that. I don't know. Is it one of those that if you want better stuff, you get to pay? I'm like, any game you got to buy with better stuff, like I'll play it for free, and I'm burned out of it by the time I ever spend a penny. You know, like I played World of Warships. I didn't play it last month because it was stupid. It did Halloween themed things. Why do I need a Halloween flag on a World War II ship? Don't be stupid, you know? You know, one thing I was surprised to hear, I don't know if it's true or not, but somebody was complaining that they didn't have enough updates for Diablo and they had them for the mobile one, Immortal. And they said, well, they're just focusing all their attention on the Immortal because people with the phones actually buy, they throw money at the problem. And I'm like, really? What would, you know, I'm going to play on the console because it's like, you know, easy to save and shit like that. And everybody's got the same equipment. You play War Thunder. You know, the problem with War Thunder is on the Xbox Series X or whatever the hell it's called, is the menus. The menus are like, let me move over there. You know, move the cursor all the way. It's just really set up for a PC. There's things about it I really like. Like I like when you get a hit on somebody and you could tell like where the damage gets happens. I like that. I tend to be somebody who's always been pretty darn decent at flying aircraft. I remember back in the days when the group of people that I played, the small group of people that I played with, Grand Theft Auto 5. I was the guy that always would get in the plane because I could fly the planes pretty well in that game. I can't fly a plane worth a shit in War Thunder, so I just forget they exist. Um, I don't want to ramp. I can tell you many things wrong with League of Legends. Play War Thunder and only spent money on them once, and it was to max out your M24. You chafy? Yeah, I like that you can fire machine guns. You know, you can fire. You know, there's some machine guns that can hurt other vehicles. I like that they have half tracks and stuff. There's stuff that I like, but I think the damage is better than World of Tanks. World of Tanks, like you do like a set amount of damage almost every time. Um, but you love the light tanks. I have not played War Thunder enough to. It's kind of it's harder to figure out than roller tanks. I'll leave it that way. I'll leave it at that. Um, but I wish the menus was little easier to navigate with on the console. You know, I could play it on my computer too, but I have very limited amount of space on the computer. It's basically for this what I really have the computer for. Come, let's go back to playing War Thunder since they got the M41, but I only got so much time in the day to do things. Yeah. really bad at the planes in War Thunder. Really, really bad. And it's just really disturbing because, I mean, just like flying around without any other fighters, just like, it just, something about it is just really off. Okay, let's go do his ammo packs. A lot of those games that you have to spend money on are really difficult in the menus to try to like. There's a lot of noise. There's a lot of noise as far as like, hey, look, this thing's new, and it's really not new. It's just it draws it out because it wants you to spend however many credits to get this upgrade. So it's hard if you don't want to spend any money. It's hard to kind of, you need to shut all those things down that are just distracting you, trying to lead you in different directions. So, M41 Walker Bulldog is my favorite all-time light tank. M60A3 is my all-time favorite tank, period. Your classic mid-Cold War fighting metal box. What's not the like? Yeah. I have not ground on War Thunder enough to really get. I played World of Tanks enough to get some favorites, but not War Thunder. I mean, I haven't played World of Tanks in years, but and some maps. There's some maps I just never want. I never ever want to see again. I never ever want to see again. It's different if you're playing a game that's basically like all these tanks. You're wondering like, where the hell's the infantry? But if you're playing on a board that's tanky, you're like, okay. But if you're playing on a built-up area, why is there no infantry? Now, I remember when Call of Duty World at War came out, and I don't know when that was. Early 2000s, mid 2000s, something like that. One thing that bugged me is you'd have a map, depending on what map it was, it would be split into Americans and Japanese, or Soviets versus Germans, so everybody on each side looked like they were the right nation. They just might end up having a Japanese light machine gun, or a BAR when you're playing the Germans, or so the weapons themselves didn't match the uniform, and that kind of bugged me. But I think that's better than playing a team where you've got a Japanese heavy tank on the same size as a Soviet light tank. It just becomes a shit show, and I know why they do it, but it just kind of bugs me. If you want to play infantry, there's All Hell Broke Loose. Yeah, I haven't played that one. But I'm kind of done with first-person shooters. I've done enough of them. I got one of those Oculus things. It wasn't my idea. The wife decided to gift us that one year. And the worst thing about the Oculus is it's very limited amount of games that are available for it that interest me. The good thing about it is it works really well. And it doesn't look as good as a console does or a PC does, but it can really fuck with your head. And I mean that in a good way, like it's immersive. And if you've never used one, they look a lot better when you have it on than any videos you may see of them. Okay? And I have this flight simulator. It was a World War I flight simulator, and they also made a World War II flight simulator a couple of years afterwards for the Pacific. So when it came out, I'm like, this is going to be great. I'm going to be able to fly with people, and we can talk about World War II shit. Well, I was expecting too much of the other people. It's just basically a bunch of nerds that'd be playing Halo. They don't give a shit that it's historical. It's just a game to them. So I realized, these people are just playing a game and they don't necessarily, interested in the Second World War or anything like that. Enlisted, I've played that one. Yep. And Squad 44, I've not. Other infantry game that lets you play with tanks and aircraft at that time period. Yeah, I played Enlisted. Enlisted is very difficult to try to wrap your head around what you can, if you don't want to spend any money, what things you can buy. But I played it enough to, I fired it back up the other day, just a very short period of time. And I was in a T-34-85. And I could see this German infantry in the distance. And I wanted to get and there was infantry coming, kind of at long range. And I wanted to switch to HE, but I had AP in the chamber. So I fired it off and I hit one guy. I killed one guy. The guy got taken by 85 millimeter. One guy got killed by 85 millimeter AP, and I just laughed. Something else I don't like about War Thunder is the goofy paint schemes people put on their vehicles. Yeah, some people are just dumbish. Yeah, yep. I play a fair amount of, or did, of World of Warships, but it's basically, it keeps me from building toy ships because I love the ships, but I get to see these little toy ships move around, and I don't feel like I'm missing out on anything, right? So I'm playing that, and these guys have these wild paint schemes, and a couple of the ships you can unlock historical paint schemes that aren't like generic. They're paint schemes that are only for that particular ship, and that's the ones I like to run. I like to run ones that are like, this paint scheme was only for that ship. It's just something to do. It's the reason you don't like Space Marines from 40K. Their vehicles are painted up like friggin' football teams and NASCARs. Yeah, you're right. I don't like that game because your guy's this tall, but he only fires this far away. It doesn't make any sense to me. I know why they do it, but I don't like that. Speaking of video games, have you played the BattleTech computer game? I haven't played it in a while, but I thought that port was superb. I thought that was the way it was done was just really, really good. I played it a lot. It's been a while since I played it, but I played it a lot. Of course, I used to play the original BattleTech, with the miniatures and stuff. But I thought the port on the computer was excellent. It looks good, too. Myopia Wars of the Grim Dark Future. Exactly. Hey, that's offensive to us that have myopia. We didn't get offensive. You give me a cut down, I'll cut you down bigger. Pay BattleTech and Mech Warrior and the tabletop. Okay, so that means you play. I don't remember which one's. What's it called? Is it Mech Warrior? It's fantabulous. It's really, really good. And you know what I really liked about it? The loading screens. The art that's on the loading screens is just gorgeous. The style it's done in is just amazing. Okay, so you played it. Have you played the computer one? I don't know what the difference between Mech Warrior and BattleTech is. Is one of them a role-playing game? I think Mech Warrior is a role-playing game. Yeah, the art is spectacular. I mean, I'm just like, I'd have that in my house. You know what I mean? It's like, the way it's done, it's like impressionistic just a little bit, and it's like an oil painting. It's absolutely gorgeous. Yeah, they did a really good job with that. Well, I think what I read is one of the people that was original BattleTech guys is on the design team. Mech Warrior Online and Mech Warrior 5. Mech Warrior is the shooter style game. Okay. When I had the original Xbox, they had a Mech Warrior game, and it was fun, but it was kind of limited. Like, you couldn't do that much stuff. It had all that clan crap. I don't like the clan stuff. It's just like, it's like you're using a World War II destroyer to fight like a modern ship. I remember the actual miniatures game. There's some things I didn't like to do. And it's funny because it's such a counterintuitive game. The bigger the gun is, the more damage it does. Well, not always. It's just with the autocannons. The autocannon 20 goes really short range, high damage, short range. It's a cool system. It may not be perfect, but it's better than a lot of other things out there. You know. There was Mech Assault for the Xbox. It was a third-person shooter style game. That's the one I have. I think I still have it. I still have my original Xbox. I'm not gonna get rid of that. Why? You won't give you anything for it. And there were some cool games for it. My favorite game for the Xbox, for the original Xbox, was this game called Gladius, and it was basically where you managed a gladiatorial combat team that was in a fantasy setting. It wasn't Rome, but it had some influences like that. And what was cool about it is it wasn't real time, but you had to like land hits, so you had to like do certain button presses at the certain time, but it gave you the gauge. Like you could tell when you needed to do it. It wasn't just like random button pressing. Like you knew what you needed to get. You just needed to hit it within the certain bracket, and it was cool. So you had to kind of there was some skill to it. Gladius. Yeah. That was a cool game. That was a cool game. I like consoles because of the ease of saving and everybody's on the same playing field. I don't do them because I don't want to play jump games and stuff like that. Like stuff where you got to jump at the same time. That's just stuff stressful. But your gamer tag back then was Bloody Pay. Bloody Page 87, and the goofy one who would run around with a Rommel tank all the time. Why 87? That's the year you're born in? Man, I remember 1987 real well. I don't know that I could have a gamer tag that has numbers and letters in it. I don't know if I'd be able to sleep at night. Sorry, I'm anal about shit like that. You'll see these people that have this gamer tag, and it's like they want to be called assassin, but assassin's always been taken over. So it's like big X, small X, big X, assassin, big X, small X, two big X. It's like just pick a different name, man. Or one of these dopers that they gotta have 420 and everything. What's your handle? 420 underscore 420. So if it wasn't for this weed, your life wouldn't be worth living. Got it. Weed boy. Are these people that are cute? Oh, my something something 666. I'm like 666 doesn't bother me, but I'm like, you trying to be cute, like, wait till it comes for your soul. I don't get creeped out by that stuff. I got a guy that I work with that if he priced something out, there's no way he would have 666 be the price. Like somehow that's like a chasm is going to open. He's going to get swallowed by it or something like that. You always have numbers referencing a year or a month of your birth. I have my 2-year digit for my year on my email, unfortunately, because you know how I went to Pussyfoot's Paradise, and they have a thing where you sign up with your email, and where you sign up with your email and you can give your receipt through there, right? And you can get your rewards and all that stuff. 69, it gets used a lot. Yeah, it's probably somebody that's not even a player. So I go and I give them my email address. So what's your name? I told them what my first and last name was. It's like, oh, is your email taguilar@gmail.com? I'm like, no. Well, there's one here already. I'm like, how the fuck did that guy, how did somebody that went to that store get that with the Gmail? That would have had to been gotten a long time ago. I'm like, you son of a bitch got my Gmail, because I can't use that one. I'm trying to think, do other positions have numbers? Let's not go there. I miss the games, and there's not enough games that do this. There's actually only one game I can think of that did this, where you could change your handle every time you played. One of the games that first person shooters I enjoyed playing more than any other when it came out. I actually got it on the Sunday night. I'd heard good things about this thing, and I picked it up on a Sunday night at Walmart when Walmart sold computer games, because it was open on a Sunday at like 7:30 or quarter to 8 or something like that. I loaded that game on my computer and I stayed up all night playing the game and went into work. I was trashed. I was trashed from not having any sleep, you know. And that game was Half-Life. And Half-Life was an incredible game. An incredible game. In 1999. And there's a lot of mods that I played that used that engine. as it, and the whatever the hell it's called. I can't even remember it anymore. The one that was all over the place, and I guess people still play it. The terrorist counter-terrorist one. Lots of different mods, and one of them they had was a World War II one called what was it called? Day of Defeat. Okay, it's called Day of Defeat, and there was different maps, and you could either play Axis or Allies. So there were some maps that were Americans versus Germans. There were some that were British versus Germans. That was your choice, and you could change your handle every time you played. So, like, if I'm playing, I don't know how it did it, but it was on computer. But, I want to have a different handle if I'm playing the British, as opposed to if I'm playing the Germans, as opposed to if I'm playing Americans. I don't remember what handles I used. I always used the same ones. But when I played the Germans, I was the Führer's bitch. Counter-Strike was dangerously addictive. It was great. It was great. And there was some maps that were incredible. There was some maps that were incredible that were designed by individual people. There was one map called, I believe it was called, not NATO, UN. I think it was called UN something. And you started on one end, and there was this one building that was like 6 stories tall. And it was just really cool. I mean, for the time, it was like, shooters before that were like, Doom and all the spin-offs of Doom. Where you couldn't even aim up and down. You were just like have to, you moved it, and it was like, if there's one guy at the bottom and one guy on a higher level and you fired, who knows which one of the two guys was targeted, okay? But, if there was one guy, it'd be targeting the top one. And then, Duke Nukem 3D was the first game that came out that you could actually, like, aim and stuff, up. And well, the first game that had that I played, okay? Because I didn't play all of them, but I played a fair number of them back then. Battlefield 1942, never played it. Never played it. Sorry about that. Medal of Honor. I hated Medal of Honor. I played Medal of Honor, and I'm playing the campaign, and I jump in this foxhole, and there's like an MG42 next to it, and a Panzer IV, and you had to jump in the belt-fed machine gun and shoot at the side of the Panzer IV to blow it up. I'm like, I can't play this. It's just fucking stupid. You can't do that. Duke Nukem 3D was awesome, yeah. Time to kick ass and chew bubble gum. And I'm all out of gum. What are you? Some kind of scum-sucking bottom feeder? I don't remember exactly what it was, but yeah. Yeah, it was, it would look like ass now, but it was revolutionary at the time. Doom was revolutionary at the time. I failed morale checks playing Doom. The original one. The remake that came out a couple of years ago is pretty freaking... I haven't played it much, but a really good descendant of the original game. I think they did a really good job with it. Rise of the Triad. No, not Rise of the Triad. I hated that game. Oh, I hated that game. A friend of mine had that. Oh, you have it on his computer. Oh, I couldn't stand that. That was gory. That was the first gory game. You could take a rocket and people's blood guts would be falling around everywhere. Yeah. Doom 2016. The one that just came out a few years ago. Remember Doom 3? Doom 3 sucked. Oh man, Doom 3 sucked. Doom 3 sucked like the Doom movie sucked. The funny thing is, Doom came out. We had names for all the creatures. I know they have they have real names, right? Doom creatures have real names. We had our own names for them. Because it was like a shareware thing you got, right? And you didn't have any instructions. So you didn't know what these things were called, So we called the imps, the ones that launched the fireballs, we called them Slee Stacks. all the time, right? And then the ones that charged you, I called them toros. And then if they were invisible, they were blind toros. And that's it. I guess I wouldn't have that many names for them, but I've filled a morale check playing that before. Ah! And you play with a mouse, moving with a mouse. Ah, shit. That's good. That's enjoyment, you know? Doom 3, yeah, Doom sucked. Yeah, Doom Eternal is pretty good. Doom Eternal is in the same. You know, I mean, one of the things that was really cool about Doom is the soundtrack. Ding 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 ding. Yeah, I know. You're gonna have all those MIDI stuck in your head. What does Doom 2016 look like? Doom. I wonder what year that came out in. First person shooter. It's 10 out of 10. Well, show me what it looks like. I'm not a retro gamer. In other words, I don't have any love for things that look like something from long ago. I don't know which Doom I played that I thought really highly of. It might have been Doom 2016. Because it certainly looks like this. What was that other game? Hexen? Remember Hexen? And then there's another one called Blood, right? Blood was the first one I saw that had a mirror in it. So there was a mirror, and you moved your character in front of the mirror, and you could see yourself in the mirror. And it's all like Doom type graphics, so it's sprites and things like that. Rise of the Try. Yeah, the story on all those bounce pads. Remember that? All those bounce pads? See, I played it. Okay, so there was a game, I can never remember what it's called. Okay? And it was a post Doom game. Probably mid 90s. And you played a superhero type guy. And, but it was the same. It was a first person shooter, but you could do like launch spells, and you have weapons too. And it was the first game that I just caught myself doing that. I did weapons and I didn't have the hand on the trigger. You gotta build good habits, man. You gotta build good habits. Oh, man. And my wife just shakes her head when we go to some place, like we go to a theme park that has any of those, like Men in Black or any of those where you've got a little toy gun and we're ready to start the scoring thing. And my daughter and I look at each other and we both have, we don't have our finger on the trigger. Anyhow, this game, you played like a superhero, and it was the first game I played that was a first-person shooter that you could get in a vehicle and shoot the vehicle's guns, whatever they were. I don't remember what that game is called. And you were like fighting like a cult of people. All right, let's use my Google foo. I bet if I saw the name of it, I would know what it is. And it was kind of a cool game. Okay. First person shooter. Superhero. Vehicle. Let's see what I get. I think the superhero was throwing it off. It was like a cult or something. I don't know. It's back when you're like, hey, let's try this. I picked this thing up. And I didn't have a computer at the time, so I actually went to this guy's house, had to buy videos. Like, hey, these video games, let's try this. Hexen, yeah. I play Hex. Had this little wand. And then I want to say Blood came out after that one. And Blood was kind of like a vampire themed one, if I remember correctly. I can't remember what it was. But that was kind of, you could get in a tank and blow people away. And you could I think you could advance and your skills could branch in different directions. So there was some ability to customize your stuff a little bit. Yeah, I've played a lot of them. I've played enough of them that if I don't play another first-person shooter, I'm okay. You know? MDK was a trippy game. What's it stand for? Because I don't recognize the name of I don't recognize it by those initials. If that's the actual name of the game, then I don't recognize it. I'll be right back. Restroom. Played Quake a lot. Never liked Quake. I never liked it. And you know, and the games that it stemmed from, I was a big fan of. I just didn't like Quake. You know, despite the Nine Inch Nails ammo boxes, I just didn't. I don't know what. I think the environment, it didn't jive with me. But it was an extremely popular game back around 1996, 7, something like that. I feel like one of the big steps that it took is when they started doing games with the, and I'm not a computer programmer, when they started doing games that use the Unreal Engine, that was that was a pretty big step. Of course, the I thought the engine that ended up working Half Life was pretty good. What's that? The OpenGL or whatever? That one worked. That worked pretty well as well. Murder, Death, Kill, like from Demolition Man, I guess. Earthworm Jim. Never heard of Earthworm. Earthworm Jim sounds like it goes with. It's a sequel to Toe Jam and Earl. Man, we're going way back. Sega Genesis, baby. I didn't have one. You know, as a kid, I wanted an Atari. I didn't get one. I didn't get an Atari 2600 until like 1986. Well, like the only place you could get cartridges for a 2600 would be like if they were on sale at like Rite Aid or something like that. You want to play video games, you had to go to Sears. You could play game out there. I wanted one of those in television so bad because they had a Sea Battle. They had a Sea Battle game with that disc fucking controller. Like, it's like, here's your controller. It was like this, but obviously it was a third the size. You move that thing around, you know. I don't mind the retro graphics. It's the retro menus that drive me crazy because it makes me feel like I don't have my contacts in. You know, like that game that I've played that's the port of basically Patton's Best on computer called Armored Commander. It's a great game. It's a fairly challenging game too. My only gripe with it, and you do get used to it, is that the menu is clunky, and it uses this very basic font that's kind of hard to. It just kind of bugs me what the font looks like. But I'm actually okay with the way that the graphics look in the game. I just don't like the letters being so freaking big, you know? Like, they need to be smaller. Anyway, thanks for coming on, man. Appreciate you. You gave me energy to keep going. Not that I've gotten that much stuff done, but you know, it is all about therapy. So you don't have to do drugs or drink. You know what game had really good music was the first RTS. What was it called? Well, it might not have been the first RTS, but the first RTS I ever saw. Command and Conquer. Command and Conquer had great music. Still does. It's still good music. Figured shoot the shit while waiting for stuff to upload. Uh-oh. What are you uploading? You know, it takes a long time when you upload something onto YouTube. Sometimes it's like, it's super quick, and sometimes it's just like, okay, this will take 3 hours. Like, why? It's only a 15-minute video. I'm gonna have to find out what the name of that game is, but you probably haven't played it. And it wasn't really popular. Because if I would have, you would have already, or maybe you don't remember what the name of it is either. It didn't have a very, like, haha name, you know? But it was kind of unique. At least at that time. You're uploading some renders to a friend, helping him with his mod. Homeworld had good soundtrack. I feel like I can picture this what the box cover of Homeworld is. Okay. 1990s first person shooters. Duke Nukem 3D, played it a fair amount. Quake, played it, didn't like it. Doom, played the hell out of it. Half-Life, played the hell out of it. Quake 2, why would I play Quake 2 if I didn't like Quake 1? Wolfenstein 3D, yep. Hexen, yep. Unreal Tournament, System Shock, no. Dark Forces. First game I ever played that had grenades. Heretic. Heretic was like Hexen, wasn't it? Heretic was like Hexen. Doom and Doom 2. Oh, yeah. Doom 2 is excellent. GoldenEye 007. Only played it a couple times. I didn't have a P64. I knew somebody that did. It was kind of cool. It's got good music. Unreal. System Shock. Nope. Team Fortress played a little bit. Witch Haven. Blood and Vengeance. Don't know what that one is. Skynet. Nope. Codename Eagle. Nope. Star Trek Next Generation. Nope. Catacomb 3D. Nope. Star Wars Jedi Knight Dark Forces 2. Nope. Never played it. Chex Quest. Nope. Like the cereal? Turok Seeds of Evil. I never played a Turok. Rebel Moon Rising. No. Shadow Warrior. What's this? Could this be it? Plot. No, that's Asian. Nope. And that's not why I didn't play it. I would know if it was Asian. That's kind of unique. Oh crap! I lost that thing. First person shooters from 90s. Power Slave. That a Iron Maiden based one? Redneck Rampage. I remember that. I don't think I played it, but Aliens vs. Predator. Descent. Remember Descent? Where you're like a little Rise of the Triad, Spear of Destiny. I played Spear of Destiny. Blake Stone, Aliens of Gold. No, never played that. Descent 2, 3, Chasm. Man. That's gonna drive me crazy. Cybermage? Let's see. Cybermage. It was Cybermage. Yeah. And you basically had, like, there's your handout. You could, like, cast spells and shit like that. 1995. Yeah, you could use vehicles and shit like that. Cybermage, game, vehicle. Cybermage, 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 Cybermage. Oh, I gotta remember that. Yeah, that was kind of a cool game. I don't think I ever finished it. Codename Eagle. Worst game ever. Turok was good. Damn, this thing's giving nostalgic overload. That Asian game with the big titty anime girls does not narrow it down at all. Free Space was a spiritual RTS version of the Descent setting. I remember the things. I'm a mechanical man. Fight, win, prevail. Yeah. And there was only one thing that would harvest things. It was that one little antlion looking thing that you had to protect. Yeah. They actually have the soundtrack to that on like Apple Music. All those games they have, you know. Now you feel old. You're 16 years younger than I am. I don't feel old. You're just a bunch of punk asses that think that know it all running around now. Punk ass. We had games where you like fought real evil, not this. Go talk to him. I'm not gonna talk to him. They're not human. Kill them. You know. That's what we like to do. I only played the first what do you call it? Command and Conquer. Only the first one. I know they had like 9 or something like that. Seth. Seth was the leader of one of those things. I can't remember. My name's Seth. I'm like, oh, you're a bad guy. It's a bad name. You just don't remember that. You hear somebody whose name is Seth, like, yeah, you're a bad guy. Oh, man. I don't want to play any of that stuff again. It's just, I have, just fond memories of that stuff. I'm not one of those people that's like, oh, I want to fire up and play Pitfall again. Like, look, I've done my turn. I've done my time with old games. I don't want to play them again. But I do have fond memories of them. Some. Some games. Yeah, I didn't have a computer at that time period. I had a friend of mine who had a computer, and then he had 2, and that's back in LAN years, and there was games that we'd play. He didn't like the same kind of games I did. He didn't like things that were too competitive. I don't know why, but he didn't like things that were too competitive. So he was he was an older gamer, and he liked to do things. He was a scientist, so he liked to do things that he almost kind of like knew how they were going to turn out. Whereas I'm the opposite. Like, if I know how it's going to turn out, why am I bother going to do it, right? Why am I bother doing it? So, we would play Doom. We'd play Doom doubles. And so one person would start a game, level 1, play it. Um, and then play level 2, save it. We'd switch seats. The next person would start, play level 1, 2, and 3, save it. So we'd leapfrog. And even with having somebody else like watching it with you, because we only had one computer at a time, I've failed morale checks before. Like there's, it's just you're enjoying the game a lot, Man, Doom 2, there was one of those levels on Doom 2 that was just like, it was all lava on the ground. Like the floor is lava, like the whole freaking level, or a good portion of it. I want to say it's like level 20, or I don't even remember anymore, but it's pretty far along. And it was like a nightmare to get through. And it's funny, there'd be other levels that were after that wouldn't be so bad, but it'd be one of those levels where you start up and there's like nowhere to go and you don't have any ammo, so you're like being attacked from all directions, and there's nothing to there's no way to to back away, blowing away the enemies or whatever. And those jumps you had to do in that game, because there was no jump button in Doom. You just had to kind of line things up how you were and get a good running start, and hope you weren't off a couple pixels. You'd fall in lava and die or whatever. Yeah, there's no way I'm playing that shit again. Cyber Mage. I gotta remember Cyber Mage. I don't think it was a very popular game. Ultima Online. Was it called Ultima Online? How was it called Online? It was just Ultima 2 or Ultima 3 or something like that. Myst. Remember when they made such a big deal out of the game Myst? We ended up getting it one weekend, and the weekend we solved the whole fucking thing. I'm like, okay, well that was fun. Okay, this guy's got a bayonet. Okay, so we got the socks to do on him. I really like the way this guy's getting painted. It's kind of impressionistic. It's almost kind of looks like an oil painting. And that's an adjective I would say is a pretty positive adjective. If I can get figures painted to look like an oil painting, I'd be happy. That's generally an adjective or a look that I look forward to. All right, so we need to do black on the boots, and that needs to dry. I tell you what, it's after 9:30. I'm gonna call it a night. We've been on here a while, haven't we? The second session, yeah, over 2 hours. So, and I didn't even get one figure painted. Well, I had a good time. So, all right, folks. Well, we'll see you guys on the next one. It'll be we'll do a Friday night edition. I think Saturday night I'm not going to be available. So if you're looking forward, make some other plans. Don't hang out with some loser on Saturday night.